Well, all right, it's 11 o'clock, you guys, and we are so excited to be here. And so we're going to be starting a series that's called Uncovering Recovery. And so, welcome. My name is Taquina Davis. I am the managing partner with Healthy Strategies, and I also partner with organization here in South Carolina. It's called Recover All SC, where we focus on addiction and recovery within faith-based organizations. And so I'm super excited for you guys to be joining this webinar, but also super excited just to be having this conversation that focuses on addiction and recovery, but mostly specifically within the African American community. So right before we jump into our awesome guest speaker, our panelists, I want to just provide you guys with an umbrella of some of the information that we are going to be discussing today. And so again, I said we're going to talk about addiction and recovery in the Black community. And so we all know, or maybe some of us might not know, but there's various challenges, right, that can lead to substance misuse and addiction in the Black community. But however, while there are various treatment options available, African Americans may experience more barriers to treatment rather than other ethnic groups. So, Blacks may be exposed to multiple stressors that can increase their vulnerability to drug and alcohol use. So, think about racism and discrimination, right? So, African Americans are highly vulnerable to racism and discrimination in the United States. In addition to various other stressors in their lives, the standard and regular exposure to racism and discrimination could create additional daily stressors for Black people that can impact their mental and their physical health. So, some African American adults and children may turn to drug or alcohol to cope with stressors. And then also, let's think about mental illness. And I know a few months ago we had webinars that focused on mental illness. African Americans are more likely than white Americans to have an undetected mental illness and do not receive adequate treatment. So, African Americans who have untreated mental illnesses, such as depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder, may be at risk for using drugs and alcohols to cope with their illnesses. So, today we're going to be diving into some of these possible causes. Um, for some people, talking about personal trauma, addiction, and recovery can be somewhat uncomfortable. But I'm super excited that we have Mr. Skip Bailey here, um, for him to be able to be open, to be honest, and to be transparent, and be willing to tell his story. And so, Mr. Skip Bailey, I'm going to give you the honor of saying who you are, where you're from, what you currently do. Just introduce yourself and just can you share with us your recovery journey? And then also, as you share your recovery journey, how has your journey influenced your current work?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me here. It's a pleasure, and I always look forward to opening up and being transparent and helping people. And so I was just had my head down just now, wrote the word you said diving into. So we're going to dive. So sometimes you dive, the water may be really deep. So sometimes we have to go deep. So yeah, my name is Skip Bailey. I'm originally from Cape Charles, Virginia on the Eastern Shore. I live in New Jersey. I've been living in New Jersey pretty much all of my life since I was 10 years old. I'm only 27 right now, so you can do the math. Um, Laughter is good also. Um, but yeah, my journey, back up a little bit. I'm a certified life coach, high performance coach, certified addiction recovery coach, certified wellness coach. I have a lot of certifications. Wellness coach, author, and speaker also, and a professional musician. So I have a lot of things going on and have a lot of things I've been doing and speaker. But my recovery started about 35 years ago. And mine actually really started, well, I thought it started from me requesting to go to a drug rehabilitation center here in New Jersey, actually in Princeton, New Jersey. Where I live right now in Lawrenceville, I'm only maybe like 10 minutes away from Princeton University. In case people are wondering, where's Lawrenceville? I'm like 10 minutes away from Princeton University. But mine started like 35 years ago, and I requested to go into a drug rehabilitation center. And and we're going to talk about this a little later, but also I did that for the wrong reason. Okay. I did not request to go to a drug rehabilitation center to get clean. I did that to save my job. Aha. That's an aha moment because a lot of I used to work for one of the largest companies, beverage companies in the world. And during that time when I was um, doing drugs, I was on of course, I had 3 suspensions from the job. The fourth number 4 is you're out of here. So, but I was informed that, the job pays for it and I requested and I went. So I did go to this place, this drug rehabilitation center. I'm not saying the name because I don't know if it's legal for me to say it, so I'm just not saying the name. But I was there for 28 days. On the 3rd week, they allow you to come home for the weekend. On that 3rd weekend, when I came home for a weekend, I went back and got high again. So like I said, I went in for the wrong reasons, which a lot of people do a lot of things, or they may use the word fooling themselves or not being honest with themselves, about recovery or about the things they should do. So like I said, mine started like 35 years ago. And of course, I went to the NA meetings. I went to the AA meetings. I went to all of those things because you know what? It looked good and it sounded good.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's interesting that you said that, Skip. And I want to just ask a question, if you don't mind,
Oh,
in
go.
reference to what you tapped into something that says you went for the wrong reasons,
Mhm.
right? So when I'm thirsty, I go get water, right? And so my reason to go and get water is because I'm thirsty and I'm trying to quench my thirst. Right. And so from an outside looking in, you would think, right, okay, so somebody's going to get treatment because they really want to help themselves. But just hearing you speak, it sounded as if your motives were, let me just keep my job
Absolutely.
because I want to keep my job because it looks good. And then also you were saying, like, when I go to these AA meetings, it looks good. So is it, and you talked a little bit about, and that there is recovery, like living in a false reality, right? Living to the point of just trying to do what society wants us to do so that we can feel good and look good so that we don't have people looking us side eye some kind of way.
Mhm.
But I think that's interesting how you said that. So can you at what point did you say, hey, me,
Okay.
me, you
Okay.
know?
Okay. Well, actually, that's the next phase because I've gone, like I said, went there, went to the NA meetings, did a lot of things, but it got to the point, where when my recovery was, I think it's been over a little 35 years ago. I can remember one night, if you're familiar, I know you were born in New Jersey. This place in Trenton, the city of Trenton, there's a project called the Dolly Homes. And I frequent that place often because there was a lot of drugs in that area. And I knew I could get drugs at any time of day. Um, but and during that time I was playing in a band. All the time I was getting high, going to these different places, I knew that I wanted to stop. And this was years after the rehab center. This was years after, but it's gotten to the point I was like, God, I'm tired of this. I don't know what can I do. The NA meetings weren't working for me, but they worked for some people, but it wasn't working for me. Obviously, I needed something else, and I'm going to tap on that in just one minute. So one night I was in this project's called the Dolly Homes, and I was in a band, and the band that I was playing, I was in a wedding and corporate band. They were in Princeton, New Jersey, at this black tie affair, waiting on me to show up to perform. I was in the Dolly Homes, and I see your mouth getting ready to open up. I was in the projects in the Dolly Homes, sitting on a dirty floor because we played in tuxedos. I had a tuxedo on, painting a good picture here. Tuxedo on, nice trench coat. I was dressed up, sitting on the floor, snorting and smoking cocaine while they were in Princeton waiting on me. But that night, I knew, even though I kept on getting high and spending money and all these things and spending all the money I had, I knew that I wanted that to be my last night. So I never made it to Princeton to the job, to the band Black Tie Affair. I never made it there. I left there I went to my mother's house because I knew I couldn't go home because I knew the door was locked and, Fort Knox, you can't come here. So I went to my mother's house, where I went to on the third floor where I grew up at. Because mom ain't gonna turn you away no matter what, unless you kill somebody or whatever. But I went there and I went up on the third floor, sitting on the bed with my tuxedo on, with my trench coat on. I said, God, I don't want to do this anymore. So mine was a spiritual healing.
Wow.
Mine
Wow.
was a spirit. Mine was, and I tell people, when people say, well, I can't do it. I mean, do you have to go deeper? And that's one of the things I talk about when I do my coaching sessions. You have to go deep, because I said, God, I don't want to do this anymore. I laid on the bed with my tuxedo on, with my coat. I just took my shoes off and laid down. The next morning I woke up. It's been over 35 years since. I have not touched anything since then.
Wow. Skip, wow, that's everybody's story. Everybody has a story, and I'm glad that you're able to share. And again, be vulnerable and be honest, because at the end of the day, you're not the only one has a story. And I think you're taking the first step to say, hey, it's okay to be who I am and to have this journey that I can help somebody else. And I commend you for willing to do this. And then also commend you for how you're using your test as a testimony, and how you're using your story not to be the end of your story, but how you're making it a journey to help somebody else. And so, again, thank you for sharing. And you'll probably go a little bit more, and we'll probably hear a little bit more bits and pieces of stuff that you've experienced. For a second, I just want to talk about the culture and substance use, right? So, despite the way substance use disorders affect all racial groups, the risk factors that contribute to substance use disorders can differ depending on racial identity. So, African Americans are more likely to experience circumstances like poverty, incarceration, homelessness, which are all at risk factors for mental health issues and substance use disorders. So, what are some risk factors that you have faced or experienced or seen others facing? And as a certified life coach, how do you address these barriers?
Some of the, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, going in different environments, even also possibility of, I was facing the fact of possibility of losing myself, and that goes into the coaching realm of it, because a lot of times when myself, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are facing some type of addiction or whatever it may be, start to not like that person they see in the mirror. So that's why I meant losing myself, because there was a time that I did not like the person that I saw in the mirror, losing respect for myself, losing respect from family members, from family members, from peers, from employment, so all of those are risk factors. And also, like I said, being in the wrong environment, because even though the mindset, you shouldn't be in certain areas, you shouldn't do certain things, but constantly it becomes a habit, not the drug, the habit. It becomes a habit of just doing that routine thing, going in that certain environment, which is not healthy for yourself. And at times it could be a factor that it may be dangerous for family members, because it depends on what you're doing. It could come back to the family. But being in the African American community, from what I've noticed and what I've seen, this has become, a lot of people have given up hope, or they're at the end of, there is no, a lot of people have this is what I believe. Okay. This is what I see. I'm not saying this is written in the paper, and but it probably is somewhere. But a lot of people have given up hope. A lot of people have given up hope. And from some of the conversations I hear, and even going in certain environments now, talking to people, as far as even treatments from the government and places like that, a lot of people feel that the government really don't care. So mindset, if they don't care, why should I care? It's not going to do any good anyway.
Yeah, I like how you said, but it's true, and it goes into different realms and sector of health and well-being. How you said, well, if the government don't care, why should I care? Right. And so if the people that we're depending on for rules, policies to make sure that we have a better quality of life. If we see that they're not caring or wanting to care, so why should I care? And like I can see the correlation between how that can be a factor as well. And then you also mentioned about how some of the decisions that you've made and thinking about the family, right? Understanding that decisions that I make directly, indirectly will impact my family. If I interact with this person, will they come back and try to, contact, my mom, my sister, my brother, my children, my grandchildren, my aunts, my uncles, any type of family. And so, like, understanding the totality of how this, lifestyle or this habit, it affects everybody that you touch, right? It affects everybody that's within your circle. And so I appreciate you highlighting that. And so as we talked a little bit about the government, I want to talk about the war on drugs in the Black community. So we know that the ripple effects of substance use disorders can also look different across cultures and communities. So looking historically at African American culture and substance use, we see that the crack epidemic, right, in the early 1980s had a lasting effect on African American communities, particularly those in inner cities where crack addictions, deaths, and crimes were most prevalent. So this epidemic was also ushered into the war on drugs, which focused heavily on drugs in the Black community. So do you believe Black communities may be more predisposed to mistrust government-led programs, like you mentioned a little bit, aimed at addressing substance abuse, and maybe more resistant to reach out for treatment because of social stigma or fears, and why?
Mhm. Well, and I'm gonna use that word again. What I believe, which a lot of it's fact, but I'm gonna stick to the word I believe. The fact that we've seen this in some of the movies, and even though they're movies, but movies come from a lot of real life situations. Okay, the crack epidemic. This we believe that this stuff was not done accidentally. You know, just like the movie. There's a movie in New Jack City when the
Mhm.
actor Wesley Snipes says that we don't own ships, we don't own planes to bring that stuff in. So and what's the individuals who become addicted to drugs or whatever, the pills or whatever they're doing right now, they and like I said, they understand that it's done intentionally, but the mindset that a lot of individuals have is that what's the use? And then also, I'm going to go even a little further with that, the fact that it goes back to, and I've used that word mindset a few times, going
Mhm.
back to the way a lot of us were brought up and programmed and conditioned from society and from family members. Meaning, if Bob does have a problem, addiction problem, that what goes on in our house stays in our house.
Yes, yes, yes. That's pretty common. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So Bob could have had a counselor all these years. He could have been seeking help, but we're not going to tell anybody because it's going to look bad for our family, and we don't want the outside to know. So a lot of people, and that goes not with just addiction, that goes with any type of issue in a person's life. That's where the life coaching
Mhm.
comes in at, and a higher personal development. That to keep what goes on in your house, it stays in your house. So Bob is going to come from childhood to middle age school to adulthood, carrying this issue all of his life. And I say that because I'm speaking from experience. And if I have time a little later, I'll talk about that, from holding that inner pain in and holding inner pain and allowing it to stay with me for years. So that's going back to the what individuals believe that these centers, these clinics or whomever that the government said they have resources for them to get help. I hear a lot of them also when they go to certain places, well, they say, well, we don't have space for you right now, or
Mm.
we're backed up right now and we don't have enough staff to help you. So it's like a what that door, a revolving door, situation, it can be like that. So it's an uphill challenge and an uphill battle for a lot of people with addiction that don't really know how and don't have the resources or don't know how to tap into the resources.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And this is new information for me in reference to how you talked about some of the barriers that are, current and in previous about not having enough resources within those places for recovery. And that's probably with a lot, I mean, like even in, my background in healthcare, there's not enough nurses or there's not enough resources, there's not enough money to help people. And I but I think that is very important. Again, this is one of the reasons why I like having these conversations, because I want people to know that that although that you might not be able to find the resources, there's somebody that you can connect with, or there's somebody that can, tell their story, that, to say, hey, I tried it this way. And you mentioned something, you said those meetings didn't work for you, right? So recovery works different for different people. And so Skip, I'm gonna go off script for a second.
Okay.
You mentioned about how, things stay within our home, what goes on in our home stays in our home, right? If you're willing to share, can you just tell us a little bit and describe your dynamics with it could be your family, your friends, in reference to your when you were struggling with addiction to now where you are 35 years out of recovery.
Mhm.
Is that possible for you to share that?
Sure, sure, absolutely. And actually, I'm going to be totally, of course, if once a person reads my book, you'll see that's a real deep dive. So I mentioned just even a minute ago, reference to individuals carrying around childhood issues. I didn't know. See, one of the reasons also, a lot of people struggle with moving forward, whether it's the addiction, when we talk about addiction, because a lot of people don't know why or what caused that addiction, what led up to that point. I didn't know why back then. Of course, I know well aware of it now. Of course, years ago when I started my coaching business, I used to, as a kid, I used to wet the bed. Okay, and I didn't realize, and even during junior high school, I wet the bed. So my mindset, and I love to use that word mindset because it's a major factor. My mindset, and this is even when we moved to New Jersey, going to school, a popular musician, popular with the girls, going home at least 3 nights a week working, I mean, wetting the bed. So
Yeah.
I was totally that mental health
Yeah.
issue. I had that and didn't know it.
Yeah.
I had that and didn't know it. So I carried that. So me starting to hang around with the older boys when I was playing in the band as a kid, not saying that they have that stigma, that thing that musicians are all drug addicts, which is not true. I just that I was hanging with older boys. They were smoking cigarettes. They were smoking marijuana. Back then it was called reefer. They were smoking reefer. And I just used that. I didn't realize that I was using that as a bandage to cover up my hurt and pain, to cover that picture that I saw in the mirror. I was using the marijuana to cover that picture. And then later on with the drugs, I was using that to cover up the picture. And how it got really bad. And I'm gonna say the word bad because I don't know how many people we have on here. 4, 6. I'm dating myself. For the individuals who are familiar with Millie Jackson, she was very popular back in the 70s and 80s. I used to play bass guitar for her. We were going to England, and I was still working for this job. So I would travel with her on the weekends, but we were going to go to England for 3 months, or 6 months, and I had to make a choice to go to England with Millie Jackson and play, and leave my job, quit my job. And I just got married. I just had a son. Skip was only like 6 months old. And so I chose to stay at that secure, good paying job.
Hmm.
And that's when it really got bad because I really started using cocaine as a bandage from not going to England. But then again, once you get to really to do a deep dive within yourself and get thanking God and talking to God, I realized that things happen for a reason, because if I had have gone to England, not knowing the laws over there, and probably had gotten caught with drugs on me, cocaine, we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now talking.
Wow. Yeah.
Who knows what that? So I look at it now, it's like I've come 360 twice. Yeah. And so even with that, for as family, um, I've had, okay, don't get there. I'm going to, your uncle, your mother's brother used to come out twice. He's come out twice. Top Case came out twice in the dark in the inner city looking for me with my mom, trying to find me a couple of nights while I was getting high. So it did affect the family. So
Wow.
so once, and people look at me and think, well, it's hard, people look at me now and they says, hey, I can't believe you used to get high. I can't believe you had that problem. I was into it, but I thank God that I've been washed. I've been flipped
Yes.
around, turned around, washed, scrubbed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome, Skip. And for those that are on the call, we are family members. Skip is my cousin, and so and other cousins that are currently on the call. And I think and again, I think it's important for us to come together as a community, as a Black community, and also as a family to help others. Like you talked about how my Uncle Top Cat and your mom came out to look for you and to save you and to help you. And that's what love is, right? And then that's what family is all about, as well. And again, of course, I have to put my health education hat on. The sole reason why I'm doing this is to share, to educate, and to help somebody else, right? Because again, Skip, like I said, like the audience, I want everybody to know this is my family. When I was younger, I was like, man, Skip, he got it together. Like you always look nice, you always dress nice. And like I didn't know, right. I didn't know as a younger person that just looking at Scott, man, Skip, he doing this. He's a musician, he's traveling. I always thought like, man, he just got it together, right? But I didn't know. But like if you think about it, what you have to do is you have to sit down and you have to sit down and talk to people, right? And then like you're doing, and this is a blessing because you're able to say, hey, I can put on this front, I can put on this mask like I got it all together. But behind closed doors, you were dealing with stuff like all of the stuff that you're telling me now. And I don't know if you can see the reaction on my face. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like really? Oh my goodness. And so again, Skip, I really, really, really appreciate you being honest and open. And I this wasn't supposed to be like this is not gonna be like a long type seminar where we talk all day long. I just wanna just say if there's uh I know there's a lot of work to be done, right? Within this industry, within mental health, within addiction and recovery. I just want to just open the floor for you just to, say what you want to say or some words of wisdom to all of us as we close out this session. And if you want to highlight, I put your contact information on so people can reach out to you if they would like to reach out to you. But want to give you the floor to just say whatever you would like to say to audience.
Hmm. Once again, I want to thank you. Um, One of the things that we have to, and I said this a few minutes ago, we have to understand it's okay to ask for help. It is totally okay to ask for help. And that's one of the things that even with whomever's watching right now, who's ever on, and who's going to watch this in the future, your kids, your grandkids, learn to talk to them and let them know that it's okay to open up. Because so many times, and especially you hear it with, I don't hear it as much as I used to, especially with little boys. If something happens to a little boy and he starts crying, they'll say, well, stop crying. Boys don't cry. Stop that. He's human. Yes, he does cry. He doesn't have to cry like a little baby, but still he's human. We have duck tears, whatever it's called. We're supposed to cry, express ourselves. And as adults also learn to ask for help, please. Like my information's up there. I just reached out to the gentleman who does my website and asked him to revise my website, because if anybody can go to my website, skipbailey.com, or you can go on the actually that QR code right there. Click on that, and then I'll send you a free copy of my ebook, 25 Success Principles. It's not about success, money, and all this. It's about success within yourself. It could be success with moving from here to there. It could be success with a marriage. Matter of fact, I mean, that's not there. I'm a certified marriage coach also. But one of the reasons that a lot of people are stuck, because a lot of people aren't even aware that they're stuck. You know, you ever seen a person stuck in the mud or stuck in the snow, and their wheels are constantly spinning? You're like, they look out the car door and look and see they're spinning. Real, I didn't even know I was spinning. People are like that in their everyday life. They don't even know they're spinning until they really take a really good look at it and jump on webinars like this. Talk to people like yourself. I see we have a couple of relatives on here that are in the health and personal development realm of coaching, also helping people. It's all about helping people, because one of the things that I want to happen whenever I leave this planet physically, to God to say to Skip, well done, well done, because I don't want to go. I'm going to take one more minute.
Take as much time.
If you're not, I believe, if you're not using all the gifts and talents that it was giving to you, you're not doing what your duty is, what your purpose, what God has given you. You're not. So why not use it? Why not? If you don't know, ask for help. There's, like you said, there's so many. You can go on YouTube. You can go on your website, my website. There's plenty of educational avenues that you can tap into to learn stuff. Just be open and honest with yourself. Just be open and honest with yourself, because looking into the mirror and not liking the person that you see in the mirror, that is not a good feeling. That is not a good feeling. And one of the things I suggest people to do also, one of the things that I do on my birthday, and when I start telling my fiance and other people I do this, I send myself a birthday card and tell myself, Skip, happy birthday, I love you. And people think that's weird. No, it's not weird. It's so easy for you to tell someone else that you love them. It's so easy to tell someone else that how great they are. Why can't you say that to yourself? And you have to be careful about what you do say to yourself, because you wouldn't allow anyone else to tell you, well, Skip, that's stupid, or I wouldn't do that. You can't do that. So why tell yourself those things? So be careful what you say to yourself also. So once again, I want to thank you for inviting me. We can go on and on, but we're not.
We could.
I want to thank you for actually, and I want to invite you also, because I told you within the next few months we'll be having workshops and seminars. So I'll be reaching back out to you also.
Awesome, you guys. Again, thank you guys for joining us. Again, thank you, Skip family, for again being open, being vulnerable, telling your story. And the goal is, you guys, is to continue to have these conversations. So my goal is to, while working alongside Recover All SC, which is the organization that I currently partner with, what we do with addiction and recovery for faith-based organizations, is to continue to have these conversations with a lot of African Americans in this community, because it's somewhat like a taboo. And you nailed it, Skip. You nailed it on the head in reference to trauma, in reference to some of the culture dynamics within our community. But again, I think it's really important just to have that conversation. So, Skip, thank you. We appreciate you. God bless you. May God continue to cover and bless you and protect you with all of your endeavors. And for those that are watching, you guys, I will connect you on my newsletter, and you guys will be getting the recording. I'll share that with you guys within a few weeks. And we appreciate you guys, and have a blessed and wonderful day. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.